Welcome to the Menopause Playbook Podcast. I'm your coach, Amelia Lady B. Get ready to enhance your internal conversations and create strategies to navigate life, menopause, faith, health, and mental well-being. Grab your playbooks, ladies. It's time to get in the game. Hey, y'all. Hey, hello, everyone. Have y'all noticed that this is episode 5 and each episode has a different greeting? And it's because I have yet to find the greeting that works for me. Anywho, let's get into this episode. It's called Menopause in the Workplace. I had a lot of fun actually preparing for this episode because there's some research out there that needed to be done. And I think I found quite a bit of statistics and just information. And I'm excited to share what I've learned from this. And maybe it'll help you through your menopausal journey as you are in the workforce. So if you are experiencing menopause right now, however you got there, prematurely, surgically, naturally, whatever the case may be, and you are working. Now, you may be working a 9-to-5, or you may even be in entrepreneurship. Heck, your job is a stay-at-home mom, whatever the case may be, right? You're working, and have you ever felt like just walking off your job? Like just saying, to heck with it, my menopause is driving me crazy. The boss is driving me crazy. I just need to leave. Believe it or not, you're not alone. I currently feel this way as well because these symptoms can get out of control. So I'm going to read a few statistics for you just so you can hear what I'm saying and you don't feel alone. Okay, so the Mayo Clinic conducted research with 4,000 participants. Roughly 15% said that they had either missed work or cut back on hours because of their menopause symptoms. A little over 1% said that their symptoms had become so debilitating that they either quit their jobs or were laid off in the preceding 6 months. Researchers at the University of Southampton in England analyzed data from a longitudinal study of over 3,000 women and found that those who reported at least one disruptive menopausal symptoms at the age of 50 were 43% more likely to have left their jobs by the age of 55. And this is women, what I'm seeing here, that this is women at the age of 50. So could you imagine for those of us who started prematurely, so whether you started in your 20s, started in your 30s, and believe it or not, so over the years, the age of perimenopause has decreased. Before, people were saying years ago, perimenopause started in the 40s, mid 40s. So when you say midlife, that's why a lot of women be like midlife, women who are in midlife. But the truth is, menopause can start at 35. Anywhere from 35, perimenopause start from anywhere from 35 to 40s. There are some women who even start later. So perimenopause isn't hit for them until about 46, 47, maybe even 48. So it changes from woman to woman. But could you imagine thinking about these numbers and 40% of women who are at the age of 50 who want to quit their jobs by the age of 55? 43% of those women want to quit their jobs. And here I am. I am 43 now. And trust me, I have felt like just giving up, just throwing in the towel. I'm like, I'm done. I cannot handle this anymore. I'm not great at multitasking. Sometimes my brain shuts down. I'm fumbling to find my words. I just can't do this. I'm frustrated. And then my anxiety goes through the roof. And this isn't helping me any. Even with entrepreneurship, why I mentioned that at the beginning was because, creating content, working for yourself, even though you're controlling it, it can still become frustrating and overwhelming. And I'm going to stop right there because I found a court case. I found a court case that was done in 2012. I believe it was, it was in 2012. And the court case is Sipple versus Crossmark. And this occurred in the state of California. So I want you to keep in mind, I'm going to give you some key players. These are, four individuals who I'm going to be mentioning in this case. I'm going to read directly from the court case. It's going to be Georgia Sipple, she's the plaintiff, Chase Payne, who is a supervisor, Cindy Slinkner, which is the HR manager, and Carla Himyari, which is the director of personal compliance for Crossmark. Okay. This plaintiff brought 5 claims against this company. And the first one was disability discrimination, 2, retaliation, 3, failure to prevent disability and discrimination, 4, failure to engage in the interaction process, and then 5, common law for wrongful termination based on the alleged FEHA violations, and FEHA stands for the Fair Employment and Housing Act. I'm going to give you somewhat of the Cliff Notes version of this case. It's really good. I'm going to have the link to this. If you're listening to this on YouTube, I am going to have the link in the description. If you're listening to it on a streaming app, I will put it in the description. So Crossmark is a sales and marketing agency which provides various marketing services for manufacturers and retailers. In 2009, Sipple, employed as a product demonstrator for Crossmark, was placed in Walmart to demonstrate the use of and ultimately sell various products, including raw foods. Sipple was aware of a dress code adopted by Crossmark and applied to product demonstrators. During the course of her employment with Crossmark, Sipple began to experience menopausal symptoms, including hot flashes, dizziness, migraines, and a general sense of physical weakness. On April 28th, Sipple's physician, Dr. Ratt, I forgot to mention him. Dr. Ratt confirmed that Sipple was experiencing menopause symptoms. Sipple then requested a note from Dr. Ratt regarding the effects to relay to Crossmark. So the note mentioned this. Due to medical conditions, Georgia Sipple needs allowance in dress code. She needs to use short sleeve shirts, shorts, short knee-high skirts. She also is unable to wear clothing with collars or straps on the neck or hats. Sipple thereafter deviated from the dress code without informing anyone at Crossmark of her condition and without seeking permission to do so. She began to wear shorter sleeves or shorter pants, though it is not known for how long or at what frequency she did so. On June 29th, Sipple's supervisor, Chase Payne, informed her that she must comply with the dress code. Sipple agreed to comply with Payne's directive. She did not mention her condition or the severity of her symptoms at this time, only indicating to him that she was hot. She did not communicate to any of her supervisors that she had doctor's note. On June 29th, Payne visited the Walmart store and found that Sipple was again not in compliance with dress code. At this point, Sipple informed Payne of the dress code adjustments recommended in her doctor's note and gave Payne a copy of the doctor's note, which was relayed to the Crossmark's Human Resources Manager, Cindy Slinkner. Cindy responded the next day by contacting Sipple directly. She asked that Sipple fill out a questionnaire. The questionnaire asked for detailed information regarding Sipple's alleged disability and how to properly accommodate it. On July 2nd, Cindy called Sipple during the course of the call, Sipple advised Slinkner that she was undergoing menopause and provided details about her symptoms. Cindy apparently offered Sipple another potential position at the company, but Sipple allegedly declined. Cindy also offered Sipple some alternatives to dress code, such as calf-length pants, but Sipple informed Cindy that she believed the suggested alternatives were insufficient to address her medical needs. Payne, the supervisor, also offered Sipple accommodations, including wearing a lab coat with short sleeves underneath, working in the refrigerator section, and taking breaks in the refrigerated area. Sipple again rejected these accommodation offers on the basis that they were insufficient. On July 11th, Sipple responded via email to Cindy with the completed questionnaire. Cindy then sent Sipple a confirmation of receipt of the email and contacted Carla Himyari. Carla Himyari is the director of personal compliance regarding Sipple's accommodations request. In response, Himyari researched whether menopause is considered a legal disability and whether other employers have accommodated it. She also looked into the purpose of crossmark dress code for the product demonstrators. Himyari found that menopause had not been accommodated by other employers and that the dress code was both for contractual purposes and for the safety and sanitation of the food that product demonstrators would serve. On July 20th, Cindy informed Sipple via telephone that Crossmark would be unable to provide the accommodations that she had requested for her menopausal symptoms. On July 29th, Sipple sent in an email to Mr. Payne, the supervisor, claiming she was being forced out of her job because Crossmark had denied her accommodations request and informing Mr. Payne that she was quitting her job. So then next thing you know, Crossmark gets served and they are part of this lawsuit where Sipple put in those 5 claims that I mentioned. And listening to all of testimonies, reading documentation, the following was determined in the court of law. So under the claim for disability discrimination, a physical disability is cognizable under the FEHA when it satisfies 2 elements. The first element, the condition must affect one or more of the following body symptoms: neurological, musculoskeletal, special sense organs, respiratory, including speech organs, cardiovascular, reproductive, digestive, genitourinary, hemic, lymphatic, skin, and endocrine. The second element, the condition must limit a major life activity. So under this, as far as the effects of the body, no case law suggests that menopause qualifies as a disability either under the FEAH or the ADA. Case law addressing the matter has unequivocally found that menopause is not a disability. And then B, whether alleged actual physical disability limits a major life activity, and the court finds that major life activity includes physical, mental, social activities, and working. Sipple's most persuasive contention is that due to her condition, she can no longer work and therefore is limited in a major life activity. However, Sipple provides insufficient evidence demonstrating that she cannot work. Rather, she only contends that she cannot work as a product demonstrator at Crossmark, given the dress code. Her alleged inability to work in the specific product demonstrator job for Crossmark only limits in terms of her ability to perform one position. It does not bear on her ability to work in general. Accommodations could have potentially given her the opportunity to continue to participate in the major life activity of working, but she did not accept any of those offers or even try them. Because she could have had another position, and she didn't want to take it. The court therefore concludes that Sipple has not stated that her condition limits any major life activity. She messed up. Here, the evidence only demonstrates that Sipple has requested accommodation at the advice of a doctor. This does not demonstrate that the defendant regarded or treated Sipple as having any particular impairment at all. In fact, Dr. Rhett's note, which Sipple passed along to Crossmark, didn't even state what medical condition or disability Sipple had developed. Because Sipple cannot establish that she was, 1, actually physically disabled, 2, her condition limited a major life activity, and because she cannot establish that, she was, 3, regarded or treated as though she were disabled, she cannot establish the first element of the prima facie case for disability discrimination under the FEHA. Her next claim was for retaliation. In order to determine whether an employer has wrongfully discriminated against an employee in retaliation, plaintiff must establish 1, he or she engaged in protected activity, that 2, the employer subsequently subjected the employee to an adverse employment action, and 3, there exists a causal link between the protected activity and the employer's adverse employment action. A retaliation claim is inapplicable in this case. In Sipple's deposition, she only indicated that she had a conversation in which she told Payne, the supervisor, about her condition. She did not raise any issues that would indicate discrimination or concern. Payne also stated that Sipple never indicated she felt discriminated against on the basis of her menopause, stating, Georgia Sipple never complained to me that she felt she was being discriminated against on the basis of her age, gender, or disability. As a result, Sipple cannot establish a prima facie case against Crossmark for retaliation because Crossmark was not made aware that they were being accused of discrimination in the first place. There was nothing for Crossmark to retaliate against. It just gets worse. So, under what she filed, her next claim, so this would be claim number 3, failure to prevent disability discrimination and retaliation claims. Well, that's we already know what that is. She could make no claims for that because there was no disability. She does not have a disability, and she could not claim discrimination either. The fourth claim was for failure to engage in interactive process. So in California, there's a code which only requires that the employer engage in the interactive process. It does not require that the employer actually accommodate the employee in any way, but rather only requires that those requests are heard and considered in good faith. The facts make clear that Crossmark was engaged in the interactive process to accommodate Sipple's conditions. So for her 5th claim, which was the wrongful termination and violation policy, because Sipple has failed to establish that Crossmark violated any laws, Crossmark's motion for summary judgment against plaintiff's claim for wrongful termination must be granted as a matter of law. In terms of the plaintiff's alleged constructive discharge, plaintiff's only relevant evidence is that she interpreted a discussion with Cindy, HR, to imply that she should either comply with the dress code or quit. This fact is heavily disputed and its veracity is questionable. After reading this, I was like, poor Georgia. Poor Georgia. She thought she had a case. And I kind of blame the lawyer. Like, why would you even take a case like this and not get all of the information from your client? I feel like it was kind of rushed. Like the lawyer probably thought that this would be a good case, but I don't know. They didn't do their due diligence and research. Like, I don't understand. If the company was able to find that that this wasn't a disability and all the other information that they found, why didn't you find the same? And why couldn't you tell your client, hey, this isn't going to work out? Did you just want to be the first lawyer, the first lawyer to present this type of lawsuit in the court of law? Maybe that's what it was. Maybe they thought they were going to win, but they did not win. And so here are 4 things that I took away from this. And pretty sure this is something you were saying while you were listening to me read it. So Ms. Sipple was wrong. Georgia was wrong all across the board. She was wrong for what she did. Documentation. Documentation is important. So she had the documentation, but she didn't use the documentation properly. If you got a doctor's note from your doctor, why do you wait until you get in trouble to then present the document? Just because your doctor said, yeah, you should wear short shorts, you should wear short sleeves, that doesn't mean you go to your job, dress the way your doctor said to dress without speaking to HR or your supervisor first to get the permission to do so. Which brings me into communication. You didn't communicate anything with your employer. You said nothing. Your boss comes in, your boss tells you, hey, you need to dress properly. That's not appropriate. And you're like, okay. And then weeks later, we don't know how much time passed, just like the case said, the boss goes into the Walmart to check to see how things are going and you're dressed inappropriately again. And then that's when you want to pull out the document. Communication is key when it comes to these types of situations. 4 is compromise. Apparently, Georgia was unwilling to compromise. They offered you dress code changes, they offered the short sleeve, and offered for you to be in the refrigerated section, and then you could take breaks in the refrigerated section. Yeah, I'm taking that. And HR offered you a different position in the company just to help you. Crossmark did their job. They did exactly what they were supposed to do, and Miss Georgia missed the boat. Now Miss Georgia out of a job, and Miss Georgia thought she was going to get some money. So currently, the United States does not have any laws in place regarding menstrual or menopause health in the workplace, but there are labor standards and anti-discrimination protections. But just like with this case, you would have to show that you were being discriminated against. Here's my 2 cents of suggestions, and even just like based off of what I'm experiencing now with working. I noticed in the past year or so that I've really been having trouble with brain fog, and it's mostly due to multitasking. I had to realize that I am not in my 20s or even 30s anymore, and I know I'm still young. I am still young. I'm 43 years old. Still young, but at the same time, I am getting older. But because of menopause is aging me, basically. And so I'm experiencing the brain fog, right? And I get anxiety because of work, because of the amount of work that I have to do, the intensity of some things that I have to do. And some things get either like I forget to do them, or I do it, but not to the standard that I know I can. So, for instance, with my job, I have to write reports for certain things, for things that I review. And I found this year that I've had to at least redo maybe 3 reports, I think. And I got so frustrated about that because it was like simple things that I should have known better. Like I should have seen it before it went out. Even when it comes to speaking with, let's say, my provider, it's harder for me to speak off the top of my head when it comes to certain things. So I have to learn certain statutes and things like that. Now, mind you, it's not a requirement for me to know these things off the top of my head. My job does not require me to do that. But when you're talking in front of a provider and you are giving them feedback, suggestions, or whatever, and they're trying to dispute you, you want to kind of be able to rattle off some things. You know, you should know a few things. For me, it's very hard for me to recall quickly, like really quick off the dome. I used to be able to do it. I used to be able to just think quickly on my feet, think on my toes really quickly. But now I find it a little bit harder to do so. My supervisor knows, my coworkers know that I am in menopause, and so they help me out when I kind of get stumbled or when I get stumped or when I kind of go silent, and then they'll interject. And so it's not like they don't throw me under the bus to make me, I don't look stupid, but we have each other's back in that sense. And so I was talking to one of my coworkers actually a few weeks ago, and she says, Amelia, it's okay. She was like, I know that you're going through, this change in your life. She was like, but we all have our ups and our downs, and we all have our, things that we're really good at. She's like, you are really good at writing clap back emails. And she was like, that's why I call you for these emails, because I want to make sure that it sounds right, but I'm also making my point, getting my point across. And she went on to say that I was good with organizing things and having structure and strategy for different things. And so I had to stop and think about that. And I was like, you know what? She's right. Sometimes we try to think that we can do it all in one, like we can do it all at one time. And the thing is, we can't. After we get to a certain point in our lives, we have to kind of just back off a little bit and pass the baton or delegate responsibilities or figure out a new way and a new strategy to do our jobs. So for me, I am working on the brain fog situation. I am taking supplements that seem to be helping me pretty well. Also, I know that I have to take time off when I need to take the time off. I need to take more time off. I need to take breaks also throughout my day. When it comes to multitasking, I can't do as much. So I'm going to have, little reminders on my calendar, reminders in my phone, sticky notes all over the place. Yes. And I have to do the same thing as an entrepreneur as well. So it's getting myself in order. Maybe writing down what it is I need to do, what type of content that I need to create, like doing this podcast, prepping for this podcast. What does that look like from day to day? Don't try to do everything at one time. Sometimes we just have to take a step back, reassess things, and then move forward. I hate to hear that women want to quit their jobs just because of their menopausal symptoms are becoming so overwhelming that they can't perform anymore. What I'm saying may sound like it's easy, but it's not. It's something that has to happen in repetition, and as you get used to your flow, you will be able to create an even better flow than what I have. But just take those things into consideration. So I mentioned that the United States does not have any laws in place for menstrual health or menopause, but there are quite a few countries that actually offer menstrual policies or menstrual leave. And so I'm going to read some of these countries. And the first is Spain, South Korea, you have Taiwan, Vietnam, Zambia, Japan, Indonesia. And in Australia, there's a company called Modi Body. They launched a policy in 2021. In India, a company called Zomato launched a policy in 2020. And Scotland currently has an interim national menopause and menstrual health policy that started in October of 2023. So it's interim, so meaning like it's just basically almost like a research study that they're doing just to see how their plans, whatever their policy outlines has, whatever their policy outlines works. So they plan to reevaluate this in 2025, and then they'll be able to provide feedback on how it worked out for them in Scotland. I think it's really great that they are starting some things. I did a video or two on YouTube regarding workplace policies for menstrual health, and I think also for menopause. In those videos, I do discuss, I believe, why the US has not really put things like this into place. A lot of it is because of maybe discriminating against others and something about gender specific issues. I think there are some ways that there could be things in place, laws in place that could be comfortable for both men and women to be able to work in an environment and not feel discriminated against because of, they have a menstrual, because of menopause, and to make others feel as though they're producing the same amount of work. Although the U.S. does not have any policies, any federal or laws in place, each employer is able to do whatever they want to do on their jobs. I will say when I was dealing with endometriosis, I will say one of my first jobs was in retail, and I had a male supervisor, and I informed him. It was so uncomfortable. I was in my 20s. It was a year after my first surgery where I got diagnosed with endometriosis. So I informed him that I had a condition called endometriosis, and I can't always stand on my feet for the first 2 days of my menstrual. And, I just explained to him that, I would need to take some breaks. I said, but I do manage my pain with painkillers, but I just need to sit sometimes from time to time. He was so nice about it, and he just explained to me that there's usually 3 to 3 people on shift. He said, just let them know that you're going in the back to take a break, sit for a few minutes, but you can't do it when there's a lot of people in the store. And so that worked out great for me. I must say that I have been truly blessed with to be on jobs where I was able to speak with my supervisors and tell them about my condition and be able to be accommodated in that sense of being able to take breaks and whatnot. When it comes to menopause, it was a little difficult as well. Again, I've been in environments, it was mostly females. So I was able to speak with like coworkers or tell coworkers what was going on with me. So able to help and assist in certain ways. Hot flashes are the most embarrassing things. Was the most embarrassing thing to me. And I think it still is, because sometimes hot flashes come at any given moment. You could be giving a presentation. Anything. You could be talking to somebody and then all of a sudden, boom, you just burst out into flames. It's crazy. I think when you have certain systems in place, people you're able to, share with, then that's great. And I also understand that every work environment is not that way. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry for those who are not in work environments like that. But I do believe that there's a way that that you can be able to kind of cultivate a safe space for you and be able to navigate your symptoms and create a space where you're able to remember, recall, and do your job as diligent as possible. I will always say I advocate for mental health. I advocate for going to a therapist. Therapists can help you manage things and could even help in writing this letter for your medical needs. There are ways that you can voice what's going on with you to your employer or wherever you are. Again, entrepreneurs, you can make that kind of work a little bit easier for you because you are your own boss, basically. I want to get into the plays for the week. This week we only have 3 plays, kind of light this week. Normally I have like 4 or 5, I think. I think it's mostly like 5, but this time we only have 3. And the first one is to assess the challenges you are having. Is it something that you have to discuss with your employer or not? So kind of assess those, just how I discussed previously, and speak with your employer if need be. 2, talk to your doctor about treatments for menopause. So if there's hormone replacement therapy, look into that if you're not taking it. If you are taking hormone replacement therapy and it's not really doing what it needs to do, look at upping your dosage. And if it's just not working for you, then it's just not working for you. Look also into the bio or body identical hormone replacement therapy, which is the more natural form. HRT is more synthetic. BHRT is more natural. Maybe that form will work better for you. Also look into finding a nutritionist. Nutrition is very important in our lives in general, but also helps with menopause as well, whether it be weight gain and being able to eat properly. Understand that weight plays a role in anxiety. It plays a role in our sleep habits. It plays a role in a lot of our daily lives. Also understanding about, nutrition, not nutrition, I'm sorry, in vitamin and mineral deficiencies. If you may be vitamin deficient in some areas or mineral deficient, maybe replenishing your body with those types of vitamins and minerals will help with some of the menopausal symptoms. And do your research on herbs, I have a platform, Millennial and Menopause. If you are not connected with me on Millennial and Menopause, at Millennial and Menopause on Instagram, I really strongly suggest you do so. I post a lot of different tips and different information about herbs, supplements, and plethora of things that can help you maneuver through the menopause process. On my website, I have a link for a juice book that I created. It's about 20 juices and smoothies that you can create that help with certain, not all menopause symptoms, but definitely help in the process in the nutrition aspect of it. All right, so the third play for the week is to come up with options to do your job. Okay, so as I suggested about using your calendar, using task lists, using sticky notes, whatever the case may be, talking to coworkers. If you feel comfortable doing so, at least that one coworker, do so. It will really help you maneuver throughout the work process. We don't want you to quit your jobs. So that is your 3 plays for the week. And so I'm going to go ahead and pray us out today. Lord, we thank you for yet another time to spend together as we fellowship through this podcast. Many of those who are listening are frustrated and struggling with health issues and don't know how to make it work for them. I ask that you would give them peace, strategy, and favor as they attempt to speak with supervisors, with HR, with coworkers, with spouses, with family, with friends. as they discuss their needs. And I pray that each person listening will get the results that works for them, that they will come up with strategies to help them as they maneuver in their workspace. And if their workspace is at home, as they maneuver through their home life. I thank you, God, for all that you are doing in our lives. And I pray for the strength, I pray for the strategy, and I pray for favor. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you for listening to the Menopause Playbook. Follow me on Instagram at Millennial and Menopause. Check out my website, millennialandmenopause.com. Until next time, ladies, be blessed, bold, and beautiful.